It's no secret that I love the Persona series. I think that my friends are sick and tired of me talking about it, but that's why I started making videos on this channel in the first place, to annoy you guys with my ridiculous gaming rants instead. So by now, I'm already terribly late talking about Persona 5 Royal. Almost a full year late actually. But the game told me to take my time, so blame Atlas instead. Before I start this review, here's some context to keep in mind if you aren't already aware. Persona 5 Royal is a remake/remaster of the original Persona 5 made only 2 years earlier. This is something that's pretty typical at this point for the developers at Atlus. For example, a few years after releasing Persona 4, they released another edition of the game, Persona 4 Golden. For most games, this would be a pretty slimy thing to do. However, Atlus has a way of completely altering the game from its original version that I believe somewhat justifies it. It's also good to mention there's no spoilers, and I won't even be giving a story synopsis, so if you don't know anything about the game, go ahead and check out my review of the original Persona 5. Pretty much everything you need to know is there, and I mostly just want to focus on what's changed in this review. So here we go. Is Royal worth the money even after spending over 100 hours playing the original? Let me tell you all about how Persona 5 Royal stole my heart. There are a few arguments to be had with a remake like this. Why release a game if you're just going to remake it a few years later? If you're just going to eventually add more, why not just wait till those ideas come to fruition? Here's the thing, those arguments are totally valid. But from the perspective of somebody who played the original first and absolutely loved it, I was itching to dive deeper into the world that I already grown pretty invested in. The characters, story, and music gave me an experience that kept me wanting more, so for players like me, I think this game is specifically made for us. Atlus probably understood that the majority of people who played through the original game wouldn't feel the need to go back and experience it again with just a few added bonuses. So what does Royal offer us that the original didn't? Well, first of all, there's a lot more story here. One of my biggest concerns was that I didn't want to replay the entirety of this story just to get to the new stuff. Luckily, this isn't the same game as it was before. This becomes obvious even in the game's introduction. After being greeted by the most stylish menu screen ever created, the first scene from the original begins. This time, something feels different. Not only does the game look sweet as hell with updated graphics, but not 5 minutes in, we're already introduced to a brand new badass character. Anyone who played the original will know that this part of the game is a flash forward from halfway into the story, so it's clear there's a lot of new content to be excited about. This isn't some cheap bluff either. The plot going forward is packed full of new story moments and characters that are just as good, if not better, than the original. None of it comes off as a cop-out. This stuff is the real deal, man. While playing, I constantly found myself thinking, wait, I don't remember this in the game, and sure enough, it's brand new. Not only does this make the game feel totally fresh and exciting, but most of the time it feels like it was meant to be there from the start. The changes made to the story doesn't just fit nicely like a puzzle piece into the original game, but affects the plot so much to the point where it really feels like you're playing a whole new game. Okay, so the altered story is all well and good, but won't the gameplay get stale in a second playthrough? Luckily, this problem is avoided gracefully with the sheer amount of added content to the game. There's now a brand new city to explore and it's huge, and also it's full of activities to maximize your experience. Nightlife in Persona was always one of my favorite things to experience in the original Persona 5, but with the addition of Kichijoji and Royal, late night exploration has never been cooler. Make conversation with the locals, invite your friends to play darts, and my personal favorite, spend an evening at the jazz club. All of these activities scream Persona, so it felt like second nature to add these events. Speaking of events, hanging out with your friends seems like it's been fully optimized in Royal. Now not only can you spend time with the incredibly intriguing new characters, but now confidants that I wish I could get to know from the original have added plot lines. Easily the one character that I wanted more from in the base version of the game has to be Akechi, and I'm so glad that they decided to give him more screen time when you hang out. It really goes a long way adding moments like these, especially for his character. The real world isn't the only element that has been changed though. There's plenty of new content you can find in the metaverse too. Each palace from the original now has brand new sections and puzzles added to make your experience feel fresh. One of my favorite additions to Royal has been the grappling hook that allows you to reach sections of the map that you never could reach before, making these new sections feel like they could have been there all along. These aren't small and thoughtless by any means either. Palaces have been altered so much that it's really exciting to go back and find out that the majority of the original puzzles have been changed to make it more challenging for returning players. On the topic of palaces, the new one could be my favorite so far. I won't talk about it to avoid spoilers, but just know the journey to get there is totally worth it. Combat has been greatly improved too. Now there are tons of new personas to collect, each with the stylish and unique designs you expect from any Persona game. Growing your power and leveling up has never felt less like a chore either. As long as you take on the battles as they come, there really isn't a need for grinding battles for experience. This was one of my biggest gripes with this series up until this point, because I found that if I didn't spend hours taking on personas to level up, I would be severely underleveled for the next wave of enemies. Definitely a huge and probably underrated improvement in my eyes. Also, there's a bunch of new combat mechanics. The biggest example of this would obviously be the showtimes, which pair up the characters in your party for an almighty team attack. These are like more stylish versions of an all-out attack, if that was even possible. It's also a cool way to show the dynamic and chemistry between team members that you couldn't really see before in combat. They are also very rare to come across, so it always makes them worth watching through. By now, from pretty much every video I've posted, you could probably tell I love Persona music. It was hands down my favorite part of the original game, so I was over the moon when I found out they were adding a ton more of it to Royal. Literally all of these songs are bangers, even beating out a few of my favorites from the classic version. A couple highlights for me have to be the theme that plays when you visit the school counselor, and of course, how could you make a jazz club without having a wonderful theme to coincide? I have zero complaints. This is exactly what I was looking forward to in Royal. All that being said, no matter how much I like this game, is it actually worth $60 in stores and replaying the hundreds of hours that you've already been through? To somebody who has already played through the original, if you already have an itch to jump back into the world of Persona, I think it is a no-brainer to play this one through. That being said, for somebody who's giving this series a try for the first time, it wouldn't hurt your experience to just play the original. It's an incredible game as is, and you could probably get it for much cheaper anyways. But if you want to take the world of Persona head on, Royal has everything you need and much more. The truth is, none of this would work as some DLC. It really changes the story so much that I can't picture it being the same game. Every single complaint I had with the original is now optimized in Persona 5 Royal, so I don't think my rating will come as a shock. This is literally my favorite game out there, and although I've never done this before, I'm going to give Persona 5 Royal a 10 out of 10. So what did you think of Royal? Have you tried it yet? Have you played the original before? Let me know in the comments below. Before I go, I'm insanely close to 100 subscribers, so I would love if you help me out by joining in on the fun. Thanks so much for watching, keep gaming to the fullest, and I'll see you guys next time.